Hey everybody, good morning to you. Greetings from Podunk, Idaho. It's good to be back with you once again on episode number 31 of the Terry Hansen Show. My name is Terry Hansen. I'll be your host today. It's great being back with you once again. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how to get more done each day and feel good about it. Two parts of that. Get tons of important stuff done, but also feel good about it. I'm going to share with you three strategies, three things that you can think about to help you really get the most out of each and every single day. If you're an entrepreneur, a sales professional, or a freelancer, then you are under the obligation to make sure you're spending each and every single minute of your day in the fullest sense, so that you can produce the most. Your business needs you to be one of those high performance type individuals. So we're going to talk about three strategies that you can use today to get more done each day and feel good about it. Now, a question for you, and post your answers down below. Have you ever had a situation when you have woken up in the morning, hit the office, you've started your workday, and literally from the time that you arrive to the time that you clock out and head back home, you feel like you are just running a million miles an hour, going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, and you're busy. I mean, your wheels are spinning, you're grinding, you're busy, lots of things going on. And when you, on the drive home, you kind of you're kind of thinking about the rest of your day, and you think, holy cow, what did I even do today? I was so busy. Did I get anything on my to-do list done? Has that ever happened to you? And maybe the answer is no. Like, I was so busy, but and this happened to me not too terribly long ago, when I had finished up a particularly busy day, and I looked at my to-do list. I got out my planner and looked at my to-do list, and I scanned through the kind of the critical, vital things that I needed to get done, and not a single one of those were knocked out. And I was so angry, so frustrated. There's something hardwired in my DNA, probably like yours, that brings a deep sense of satisfaction when I've reduced waste, when I've gotten a good return on my energy and my investment for the day of effort and energy, and when I feel like I've been productive. I feel deeply satisfied when that is the case. But that day driving home, I was just so frustrated. I'm like, what did I do all day? I was so busy, but I didn't get a single important thing done. Well, it kind of brings to mind that there's a couple of thoughts that we need to think about. The first is, we have to recognize, number one, that not all tasks and activities in our working day are created equal. And I know that sounds a little bit obvious, but not all tasks and activities are created equal. Some have different priority levels. Now, decades ago, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, he coined a phrase that's become very, very popular. I'll read it to you, but this is what he said about some tasks and activities being urgent, and other tasks and activities being important. He said this: what is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. Now think about the dichotomy between those two words, important and urgent. What is important sometimes isn't urgent. There's no deadline associated with it. Can you think of situations, or I guess tasks or activities or projects that are mission critical, but there's just no deadline associated with them? Can you think of anything like that? But then on the other hand, he says some things are urgent. There's a deadline, got to be done right now, but they're just not very important. Can you think of things that you get involved in day after day during your workday that are like that? Well, with those two dichotomies, some enterprising person created this, what's been termed as the Eisenhower Matrix. I'm sure you've seen it. It's not new. It's been around for a long, long time. But these four categories, it was also made popular by Stephen Covey in his famous, New York Times bestselling book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said quadrant number one here represent tasks and activities that are both urgent. There's a deadline, has to be done right now, but they're also tremendously important. These could be like emergencies, crises, things that we just have to do. And there's no way to get around this quadrant number one stuff. We just have to get it done, and get it done right now. He also said that there's a quadrant number two. Quadrant number two are tasks and activities that are certainly urgent, but they are not, they're not urgent. There's no deadline associated with them, but they're highly important. They're highly important. These are things maybe like exercise, or spending time with family, or strategizing, or planning, those kinds of things that we've got to do them. They're so important. There's just no urgency. There's no deadline that says you have to get it done right now. The only way for us to be effective there is to schedule it and plan it into our day. Third quadrant here are tasks and activities that are urgent. They seem like there's a deadline. They've got to be done right now, but they're anything but important. These could be things like interruptions, phone calls, emails, things that are popular, things that are entertaining and fun that draw our attention and have to feel like they have to be done right now. But are they vital? And they mission critical? No, they're not. And the strategy with these kinds of activities is just simply delegate it or postpone it to a different time, and that sort of thing. The fourth and final quadrant are tasks and activities that are neither urgent nor important. These are time wasters. These are entertainment. These are water cooler conversations. Spending too much personal time on social media during work hours. These are busy tasks administratively. Best thing to do with these is just get rid of them. When we minimize this quadrant and we minimize this quadrant, we can reallocate and find more time to get ahead of the curve, to be proactive, and to focus on things that are truly important. And when we start being more proactive, then what happens is these emergencies and these crisis things that are always blowing up in our face, these start decreasing. So tip number one is we have to recognize that not all tasks and activities are created equal. Some are urgent, some are important, some have a combination of both. But the more time you and I can spend here in this quadrant number 2, the more refreshed, energized, and good we feel about where we're spending our time. So that's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2 is we have to recognize that as entrepreneurs and as sales professionals and as freelancers, there's kind of 2 types of activities in a bigger, broader sense. There's things that we do that immediately impact the size of our paycheck and impact the size of our company's revenue, or there's tasks and activities that don't directly impact the size of our income or our revenue. So there's kind of paid, there's kind of revenue producing activities and non-paid revenue or non-revenue producing activities, right? So an example of a revenue producing activity, just taking selling, for example, is anytime we're generating leads or prospecting for new business or scheduling appointments or creating a meeting with prospective clients to come up with a scope of work, putting together bids and proposals, working to close sales, meeting with existing clients to upsell and cross-sell them. Those kinds of things directly and dramatically impact the size of our paycheck and the size of our income. However, other tasks and activities that don't generate revenue are things like sometimes trainings, sometimes various kinds of meetings, checking email, organizing your desk. The list kind of goes on and on. We have to be very cautious and very careful about which of those 2 types of activities we're spending 80% of our time during the day focused on. So as a general rule, we want to be making sure that we spend 80% of our time on activities that are going to directly impact our revenue. 20% of our time, obviously, are on things that don't necessarily impact our revenue. We have to do those. We have to get to those, certainly, but we can't let that be the majority of our day. So that's why 80% of our time needs to be focused on things that directly and immediately impact our revenue. Right. The third and final thing that I'll share with you before we wrap up for today is if you don't have a habit of using some sort of a planner or an organizer for your day, you've got to get one. Now, there's only about 3 billion different kinds of planners out there. Most of them are great. But one of my personal favorites that I've used, and I've spoken about this before, is one of my mentors, Brendan Bouchard. He not long ago, last year, I think, came out with what he calls. It's hard to see because this is in black and the letters are embossed in there. You can't really see it at all. But it's called the High Performance Planner. The High Performance Planner, and it is one of the most valuable resources that you can have. Not only, and I'll show you. Not only does it have a place for you to schedule your day and write down the various meetings and things that you need to get done. That's what most planners have. That's kind of Planner 101. That's kind of a basic. But a couple things that I really appreciate that he's included in his planner. Over here on the left-hand side is what he refers to as the morning mindset. So after you wake up, get your breakfast, you shower, shave, shampoo, get yourself ready for the day, you sit down and you answer 10 questions that get your mind primed, ready, focused, and clear on some of your highest priorities today. So back over to this matrix here, it gets you focused on what are your quadrant 2 things, what are important, what are the urgent and important things, but also what are the not urgent but important tasks. It gets you to focus on these top 2 quadrants so that you can spend your time most wisely during the course of the day. Who are the people that you need to focus on? How are you going to bring your best self to the day? And who can you surprise with a note or a gift or a sign of appreciation? How can you demonstrate excellence today? If you were a high performance coach, what advice would you give yourself today? You would know that today was a great success at the end if you did or felt these things, right? So this basically here, this morning mindset gives you basically a blueprint or a roadmap or an architectural plan for your day. And I really appreciate that element. There's an area to write yourself a specific motivational message, an area to write down your top 3 goals or priorities, an area to write down the tasks that absolutely must get done today. Those kind of represent this quadrant number 1 area here, but also people that you need to connect with and how to do it well. So, and at the end of the day, the second, or I guess the third thing that I really appreciate about this particular planner is at the end of the day, there's an evening journal where you get to reflect, review. So you might be lying in bed after you've done some chit chat with the spouse or the significant other, and you get to review your day. You sit down and you go through 6 questions and you review, how did I do? You evaluate, you reflect, and you get to basically evaluate how well you met your goals, how well you stayed true to your vision for the day. So when you spend time going through and using a particular planner like this, that's not just a scheduler, but truly it's a blueprint for your day, man, oh man, the quality of your day goes through the roof. So there's a lot of right answers when it comes to planners, but I absolutely would suggest and recommend that you have one and that you use one and that you treat it like an architectural blueprint for your day. You start the day out mapping out and planning out and creating an architectural plan for what you want that day to look like. Mentally, emotionally, schedule-wise, task, activity, people, goals, priorities, all of those kinds of things. And then you reflect and review at the end of the day on how well you did. And then you kind of repeat that process for the next day. So not only is it important that you recognize, number 1, as we've kind of mapped out here, that not all tasks and activities are created equal. They do fall into different spectrums when it comes to urgency and importance. And that you and I are best served when we spend our time in this category 2 over here. The number 2 tip was when you and I recognize that some activities pay us big and some activities don't pay us big, and we've got to select and choose and be picky about how we're spending our time. We've got to be spending our time, 80% of our time, on things that directly impact the size of our paycheck and our company's revenue. We can't let total administrative things dominate our day. We've got to do them, but we've got to keep those to 20%. And third and final is make sure you are using some sort of planner that helps you architect your day. It's a simple thing. But you and I as entrepreneurs and sales professionals and freelancers, sometimes we're moving way too quick to be effective. We kind of get a little reckless. So we can't allow ourselves to move so quick and be so reckless that we lose not only productivity, but a sense of accomplishment and a feeling of productivity. So anyway, I hope that has made some help. I hope that's been some help to you. I hope that's made a difference for you and get you to think about how you can get more done each day and feel good about it. So it's great to be with you. Hope some of the things we've talked about have made a difference for you. Again, my name is Terry Hansen. If you've liked some of the things that we've talked about, do me a favor, do 2 things. Number 1, click the subscribe button on this particular YouTube channel so that each day, each week, as we crank out new episodes on the Terry Hansen Show, you can be alerted and notified. And but the second thing is certainly post a comment down below of what are your hacks, what are your best tips for getting the most out of your day, what helps you be productive and feel accomplished. Right. And then maybe third recommendation is down below in the comments or in the description, I'm going to post a link to a special Facebook group. If you use Facebook, if you're on Facebook, it's a free Facebook group that I've set up to teach entrepreneurs and sales professionals and freelancers how to master their sales elevator pitch. At some point in time, as you and I are generating new business, at some point in time, whether it's through email, phone calls, social media, face-to-face interaction, trade shows, networking events, you name it, some point in time, we have got to introduce ourselves to our ideal clients. And that sort of initial introduction, that sort of pitch, that sort of approach, it's vital that we master that so that we can schedule those follow-up conversations, get people into the sale process, and really fill up our pipeline. So click that link, join the Facebook group, so that you can get access to the training that you can use to take your business to the next level. So great being with you. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to see you again on the next episode of The Terry Hansen Show. Take good care. Bye-bye.